is Dana Hessig, as it says
hold
on the slide.
Oh, yeah, Thank you, everyone, for joining today. My name is Casey Callum with Express Information Systems, and I am joined by Dana Hessig with Rockton Software. Today, we are presenting the suite of Rockton software products. Rockton Software is a system, it's a company that has been around for a lot of years. They're one of the more notable ISV partners with Microsoft Dynamics GP, and they have a lot of tools that enhance the usability of Microsoft Dynamics GP, a lot of which the people on this call have already used some of or are at least familiar with. On the webinar today, we will be providing CPE credits. So for anybody that is interested, please indicate so.
I have to. And I'll get back with you since it's over. Okay.
Hey, Casey, we lost your voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So if anyone does have any questions, please type those questions into the chat box, and I'll act as the moderator to pass those along to Dana, and she can answer any questions that you have. And then after the webinar today, if anybody wants a personalized demo, or if you would like to see pricing for the items that we discussed, Raina Camargo and myself are the account managers. So please just reach out to whoever your account manager is, and we'd be happy to work with you on additional information or pricing. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dana, and she's going to present Rockton Software to us.
Thank you, Casey. My name is Dana Hessig, as Casey mentioned. I've been with Rockton for a number of years now, and my main role here, I guess, is to do technical support for each of these products that we'll discuss today. So all of the products that we have, which are part of the GP platform, if you will, they sit on top of GP. The purpose was to just kind of express to you the number of different tools we have that work really well with new users. We have a lot of users who've been around a while too, who really enjoy our tools. They like them, they find them to be useful. Let me just start my slideshow here. Sorry, I don't use PowerPoint all that often. So we'll go on to
While
the
you're
next slide
figuring
here.
that out, I did get cut off when I mentioned the CPE credits. We will send out an evaluation form after the meeting today. Just indicate on that form if you would like CPE credits. There will be a box for it, and we'll make sure you get those. And I think I also got cut off on the Zooming. So you can click on the plus or the minus to zoom in or out yourself. Back to you, Dana.
Thank you. This is the Rockton crew, or at least it's not all of us. This was taken a few years ago on a Rockton retreat in Mexico, I believe. Basically, Rockton Software we've been developing Dynamics GP add-ons since 1999. I like our motto. It's work simpler and easier. And as it says, it's more of a lifestyle than a motto. And you can see we're based in Erie, Colorado, but we have employees in a number of different states, and quite a few companies use our products today. So today we're going to talk about things like faster searches in GP, some quality control tracking, maybe navigating GP a little bit better, and just a little bit about managing and training new hires, kind of along the realms of security within GP and some things that our tools can help you do there. So when you're joining a new company and you're learning a new software system, it's overwhelming, but we want to make it as easy for you as we possibly can. That's kind of the idea behind the majority of our tools. So we have the ability to do some fun things with searching. We have a tool called SmartFill, which I'm going to actually do a demo of and show you a little bit more about here in a moment. You can easily search all kinds of key records in GP. If it's an inventory item, a vendor ID, customer ID, lots of different things. It's actually set up with over 4,000 different predefined actually searches for you, predefined lookups, and it is customizable, so you can add a lot of different things to look up. For example, with a customer, if you're looking for them and all you have is their phone number, you can actually add that in SmartFill and be able to look by a phone number, to look them up by a phone number. So it's really kind of a handy tool. And let me just hop over to my GP. Take me a second to pull this over to this window so you guys can all see it. So this just looks like your standard GP instance. And you'll notice up here we have these colored R's. These are each of our different tools. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about SmartFill. And I'm not going to do a whole lot on setup. I just want to show you how it's used for the most part. But I will show you that it's just a handful of windows for setup, not a lot of things going on with the setup, because we actually designed this one to be pretty well set up right out of the box as soon as you install it. So let me use I'll go over to sales here. And I go into the customer maintenance window now. If you, this is something I'm going to show you a little later. If you use GP regularly, you know that oftentimes if you're on the sales side, you have to come into customer maintenance and maybe add a new customer or look for one. You can't remember the customer ID. And I'm just in the GP test company database, so my customer IDs were already set up for me. And as you can see, they start with alphanumeric and then go to numbers, but they also have a name. So if I don't know what this customer ID is, I might come in here and I might search it the old-fashioned way using GP, which is right here. But we have a better way. If I actually know that it starts with, let's say, BO. Now, ignore the little drop down that pops up there. All I do is type in a couple of letters that are in this name that I'm looking for. And I click Tab to move off the field. You could click your mouse and move off the field as well. And what it will do is pull up this Make a Selection window. This is one of our SmartFill windows. This window allows you to find the customer more quickly and easily. You can see on my window, let me spread this out a little bit for you. It's got an address 1, a city, and a state. This one's actually not in the United States, so it's a little different, but that's okay. It has the address information in there. So that tells me that if I need to see this address, I can change what these fields are, I guess, in SmartFill is what I'm getting at. There's a method to put whatever you need to see in here that makes it more useful for you. And you can also have the option of searching on the fields that you have listed in here. So they can be either a display or a search or both. So in this case, my search was just BO, and I only have one customer that comes up with that. And in this case, I happen to know this search is a contains search. So if there's a B and an O in that order, anywhere in either customer name or customer number, because it's searching on both of those fields, it's going to find it. All I need to do is click select, and it pulls in that customer. Now, if I do that again and I choose a different, I'm just going to take a quick peek here to have a better example. Okay, there's one. Do AM, and you can type as many letters in here as you want. I can do AME as well, and it's going to pull up anything that has AME. This one was American Science and American Electrical. So when I did my little lookup to cheat a little bit, I saw that there were some that started with American, so I used that. And you can see now I have 2 to choose from. So if I had more information on what that customer name was or that customer number, I'd be able to basically to find based on anything in there. You can add customer class if you know it's in a specific class. And in my example, I don't have phone number, but you can add that. If I knew that this one was at 789 North Carlton Place, I could have typed in just Carlton. And in fact, let me do that. Okay, not sure what, maybe I spelled it wrong. Or I'm not searching on that. That's probably what it is. So you'll see what happened when it's actually not part of the search. I'm not actually searching on address 1. So it didn't find Carlton. I would actually have to go in and change that so it would search on address. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go into that window and do that, but that's exactly how it'll react. If it's not finding anything, it'll just assume you're making a new customer ID. So let me go back in. Do I have? AD was a good one as well. If you can see, whatever starts with AD, and what I meant by that was I was using address because Carlton was in the address. This is not a search field, it's just a display. It's a little checkbox. If I go check search, then it would have found the one that had Carlton in there. Not sure if I have city either as a search. I just kind of wanted to show you a different field that I can search on. So let me just try Chicago and see if I have city in this one. I do not. I'll try another one on another window. I'm sure I've got some other things in there. But as you can see, basically anything in this window you could actually put in as a search field. Like I said, phone number can be used. So Smart Fill really kind of makes it easier. I'll show you one more example of that on the financial side in General Ledger. I'm just going to go into the transaction entry window and get to the point where I can put in, sorry, I should have disabled project cost and I didn't. So I'm in an account number field. I don't know the account number. I can look it up the old-fashioned way here, or I know I need a cash account. So I can type the word cash. With account numbers, it's a little odd because you have to tab all the way through however many segments you have, and then it will open the make a selection window. So this is another search with SmartFill. Each of these are a little different, how they handle things and what they do. I knew that the description was part of this search, so I typed the word cash, and as you can see, it's showing all of my cash accounts. So I can pick and choose which one I want. So it can work in the general ledger for account numbers as well. Literally, it can work for inventory items, any kind of a key field. You can basically set this up on. I've had a few requests where people wanted to set it up in GP's fixed assets, which we don't have a default search for. So I've created a couple of searches in there as well. So you can do it there. The other kind of key important thing that I want to share with you is if you do have other third-party products, sorry about that. If you do have other third-party products, now fixed assets is part of GP and not really a third party, but obviously you may have some, you may not. If you do, and they're written in Dexterity, which is the language GP is written in, SmartFill will work on those windows as well. So you just have to set up what we call an object in a repository record to connect it to that field. And you could use SmartFill in other windows as well. I am going to cancel out of here. That was it. I did that on purpose. That was a little trick to show you. If I cancel here and I tab off of this again, I don't take the word cash out of there, it's just going to keep opening my window. So what I have to do is come back here and clear this out. Little tricky on that one because there's no clear button up here. On most windows, there's a clear button you can hit to remove that from there, but now I can exit out of the window. So that's just one of the methods that SmartFill can make searching and looking up different lookups easier and nicer. And I know we actually just did a few things that we added. We added a few features to SmartFill. One of them, I should actually show you that really quick because I thought it was really handy. I am going to go to, let's try purchasing this time. We'll go into the vendor maintenance window. Let me just do the letter A. And this is going to pop up all vendors. This is a little odd because anybody that's got an A in there, it's going to show up. So let me narrow this down a little bit. You can see you can actually switch it right here in the make a selection window as well if you didn't type the right thing or you're not getting the right selection that you wanted. You can further this. This is actually a new feature. You can further this by a column search. Now a column search, what it means is the columns that are here in this window. So I can choose all or I can choose any of those columns to search on. In this case, if I choose vendor name, I want to narrow this down and I type in auto, for example, and tab off, it limits me down to just the one that had auto in the vendor name. This is not something that was SmartFill up until the last release, so it's actually a very new feature, and it was really just for the purpose of allowing users to really narrow down their search if they didn't have much to go on, and maybe they only had an area code, and they typed in an area code, they were searching on phone number, and they really needed to narrow it down. Once they saw the results, they had some better ideas on what they could search on. So just a little bit of a fun new feature. Another new feature that we've just added that I actually really like is the ability to export from this window. Now, in thinking about this, if you needed a specific subset of vendors or customers, say you had thousands of them, you could come in here, narrow down your search criteria and export. And it will export actually to either a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. I won't go through the process, but basically it just takes all of these columns and exports them out. We don't know if that's really something users are going to use very often because you have Smart List and other things in GP, but we thought it would be handy, so we added it in. Cancel out of here and clear that. So essentially, that would be fill. Another one of our products that we sell, oh, actually, I should have gone back. You'll notice, because I know you had mentioned, Casey, the pricing on these. SmartFill is $230 per full system user. So she does, Alicia did the slide deck for me. She actually does have the pricing listed here, just so you're aware. For Auditor, it's a little bit more. Yeah. So as we go through these three of our tools anyway, you'll be able to see that on the slide deck. So for Auditor, our Auditor tool actually is exactly that. It allows you to audit adds, deletes, and changes to any table in GP. So an add would be if you created a new transaction record and it went into a specific transaction level table, that would be a new record in a table, that's an add. Maybe you created a new customer ID, that would be a new record in the customer maintenance table, the table that stores that data, and that would be an add. Deletes would be very similar. If you deleted a transaction, Auditor can track that. What it'll tell you is the time of day it happened, the date, and the user who did this for adds and deletes. For changes, it's a little different. It does a little bit more than that. If you go in and you change the address, for example, on the customer maintenance window, Auditor will allow you to track that. If you set up an audit to do that, it will allow you to. So what happens is if I go in and I change the address from New York City to Los Angeles on some customer window, it's going to have a record in Smart List. These all are tracked in Smart List that tells me that my user Dana was in GP at this time on this date, and I changed this particular record, and it will give you an idea of what the record is. And I changed it from New York to Los Angeles. That would be odd, especially if I didn't change the state, but it will give you a record of what happened. Where I think this comes in really handy is things like, not cities, obviously, because people aren't going to change those very often, but things like payroll in GP, you can actually use it there. So you know exactly the time and date when someone's pay rate changed or some benefit was added or something like that. You can use it just simply for tracking those things to know when it happened, making it a little easier on you. Or you can also use it for protection against fraud, even a little bit for training. So a new user can figure out, what exactly did I change when I shouldn't have, right? If you have things audited, then they can go back and take a look at that and determine, what change did I make and when did I do it? And then they can go change it back if it's wrong or whatever. But changes are held a little differently and handled just a little differently than deletes and adds in Auditor. We also have in Auditor a couple of really cool things. You can track security changes in Auditor. The security changes is literally one checkbox that you mark, and then it tracks every security change that you make in GP. So that's it's super easy to set up, obviously, if you just check a box, and it gives you in a Smart List whenever changes are made. I do caution people a little bit with that one. You don't want to go, if you're going in and making a number of security changes, and typically that would be the SA user, the system administrator who has access to do that, you want to be a little cautious about adding notes, because you can also add notes as to the reasons why you made that change. And if you add a ton of notes to security audits, you will end up having to do a lot of extra work when you're making a security change, especially if you're adding like a new role in GP. We also have the ability to define segregation of duties. To be clear, it's basically a couple of reports that will tell you if there's a conflict with segregation of duties. It does not actually prevent the user from using the window, but it tells you what that segregation should be to make it a little easier for you to set up your security and your users. And then the electronically approved changes, we have a tool within Auditor. It's called e-sign signatures, and it allows you to set up an e-sign signature on a particular field. And I always use the example of the vendor check name in payables. because if anybody has access to that and they go in and they make a change to the vendor check name, you literally in GP can go change the vendor check name to your own name, go print a check, and now you have a check made out to you. So, I mean, with the way we handle money these days, not everybody's printing paper checks, I realize, but this could be risky, could be a problem. So you can put an e-sign signature on that field, on that window, where if anyone makes a change to that window, they would need to have that approved. So that's what that allows. You can then you'd have approvers set up, and those approvers would be able to approve or deny the change made on that field. So that's kind of another handy feature of Auditor. And I'm going to just go in and show you a little bit about Auditor. So Smart Fill was the blue R, Auditor is the purple R. I'm actually going to show you my audit groups window. It's a little messy and I apologize for that, but I use this to test a lot of things. I want to show you this because we have a number of sample audits for Auditor that if you choose to purchase Auditor, or if you already own it and you're a little confused and you're not sure how to set it up or what you really want for auditing, we actually have a group of sample audits that you can download from our website and import in. They're pretty easy to import in, and they'll give you the ability to have some audits already set up. Now, I've messed with most of mine because I do a lot of testing, like I said. But if you look at the financial series here, let me just open that one really quick. I have 3 different audits on this. And we have 3 different types. And again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but just know the form audits can only track changes. So that's kind of the key takeaway from these. Table and SQL table audits can track changes, adds, and deletes. The other key takeaway is if someone's editing or updating data in the SQL Management Studio on the server side, like through a script, SQL table audits will track that. So just to note that, that's kind of an important caveat between the 2 of these. On this one, I basically have a table audit on the checkbook master, and I'm auditing just 2 fields, the last reconciled balance and the description. So this is really the setup. There's more to it than this, obviously, but the other piece I want to point out is access. You can give this to all companies and all users like I have, or you can uncheck these boxes and it will let you pick and choose which users you're auditing and which companies. The reason I point this out is it can be really handy for test. When you first start testing, if you have a test company, only come in and mark the test company before you turn it on in live. Or vice versa. You may not want to audit everything in test because all of this information goes into a table. All the data goes into a table in the Dynamics database. So might be important to not have audits turned on in the test company if you're not actually using it for testing Auditor. But the access for it, the who's audited and what company is audited, is all controlled by this little access window off the group maintenance. So let's show you how this works. If we go over to the general ledger and I go into the cards account window, so I'm coming in here, I'm looking at a particular GL account, or I'm adding a new one. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick one of my accounts. And I noticed, no idea what that account is, I noticed that I had posting type and typical balance audited as changes. So I'm actually going to change one of these. Now, obviously, from an accounting perspective, you never want to do this, but I'm going to do it. And let me just click save on that. I actually do have an e-sign approval on this one because I want people not to do this. As the system administrator, I don't want people to do this. I don't want them to change the posting type because that adds a whole host of other problems when it comes time for year-end close. So we want to make sure they're not messing with these particular fields. So what happens is this e-sign approval window that popped up, this is exactly what I was talking about. I can set up this particular field to audit, but I can also set it up with an e-sign. So I will actually just approve this one. And if I can type my password correctly, I will, that is. The reason you can actually predefine these and set up, and I didn't in this case, so I don't have anything in there, but you can also type. So freeform type, and then I know I'm set up myself as approver. A couple different ways you can handle this. This one doesn't allow the queue. You can see that it says queue right there, but it's grayed out. That's just a difference in how you set up the e-sign. However, I'm not going to queue this one. You can put it in a queue and wait for somebody to come and approve the change. Otherwise, you can just click approve. What it does is it sends a message actually, if I had hit submit, which wasn't even available there because I'm not, my Dana user is not online, is why you don't see that. I can just type in my password here. That's a little cumbersome because your person that's approving these is probably not standing at your desk, especially in COVID times, being allowed to just type in their password for this. That's why we have some other features on there. And this is just about my email, which I haven't logged into yet. So we'll just, wonder if I can just cancel that. Because it's not, it's actually going to send an email. That's why it's asking me to log into my email. And I must have had, I apologize, I had another outstanding note. So let me just finish that. You'll see this little window that pops up here. So it says that user Dana approved that change to the save button on the account maintenance window. So that last note window that popped up is just, it's one from prior. It's not anything you need to worry about. That typically wouldn't happen. But you do get a little message down here on the bottom too saying that things were approved. So now if I went back into that account number, it's profit and loss instead of balance sheet. And I'll show you where we can actually see that in SmartList. That, however, I got off on a little tangent there, I apologize, because that window popped up. That's not a change I wanted to show you from Auditor. That's not straight Auditor functioning. That's the electronically approving of changes feature that we have. Let's actually go back to, go to purchasing again, and we'll use my vendor ID example, and I will change the check name. And I'm probably gonna have, yeah, I've definitely tested with this one. So I'm just going to remove that extra information I have there. I wish I had my email set up, but I don't. So here I get that note maintenance because I actually have a note on when someone changes this. I'm not stopping them from changing it or requiring approval. This is another feature of Auditor where you can put a note on that. I want to know why. Why did you change the vendor check name from the old value that it was to this new value? And you can see on this window, it tells you pretty much all the information you're going to get in that smart list. It also pops up this little toast window saying, hey, this is happening. And in red, it says the administrator requires you to enter a reason for the data changes. Again, this won't stop you from making the change. It's just giving a reason. And I will mark that one and apply it. And then the note goes away. I think I'm also tracking city here. So let's just change this as well. So I made a change. It doesn't seem like I did anything because I didn't get any notes popping up or anything like that. But let's just save this one. And where you'll see this information happening and where we really tell everyone to go with with Auditor is SmartList. So in my SmartList, we have these predefined Auditor SmartList set up. You'll have a folder called Auditor. Mine's a little messy because I test again. You'll have audits, e-sign approvals, and security audits are the three that you'll have. And I just cleaned out my audits one, so it's going to be pretty empty right now. It should just be the things that I just messed with, and it is. So you can see the date is today, and the timestamp is on all of these. This was the GL account maintenance where I changed my posting type. The old field value is 0, the new one is 1. 0 and 1 is the information that's stored in the table. We actually have a handy way to fix that, so this is more user-friendly, and type in the actual word instead of the 0 and the 1, but you have to be able to look those up and know what those are. You can see that I actually have 2 audits for that, which seems a little odd, and the reason is I have a form and a table audit. You don't need to do that. That's overkill. I was testing, so that's why I have that. If, however, I want to drill back and see a little more detail on this, I can double click it, and it'll tell me this was a table audit. It was an edit, meaning a change, and this is just the audit group it's in. But you can see the workstation, that's my computer name, the user who did it, because I'm logged in as SA, the date and the time, and then the field from which table, because this is a table audit, so it's in the account master. Record key with account numbers is a little tricky because GP uses account indexes and not the actual account number, but that's okay. And then the old value is 0 and the new value is 1. My note was test. If I click this, I can add other reference fields, and for this one I did so that I can see what the actual account number was, so it makes a little more sense to me. So you can actually drill back into that information as well. My vendor one, I think I probably have, so for the vendor name change, I actually have 2 audits, a form and a table audit. Let's actually look at form audit. And it doesn't really look different in SmartList. The only reason I know it's a form audit is because the audit type is window in here. But again, the old value was with testing 2 on the end, the new value doesn't have that. My purpose was testing auditor, and I don't know if I added any reference fields in here. I didn't. So basically the vendor ID and then it's all that's really in there. If we look at, so vendor check name was the one that also had a note on it. So if I go back in here, you can see my note right here, testing auditor. And it also had an e-sign approval on it, I believe. One of these did. Maybe it was the other. It was the GL account that I changed. You'll notice when I look at this one, I didn't clean out all of this information, so it's kind of messy. I have 59 of these in here just from testing and things. If I sort by date, descending, I should find the one that I'm looking for, and it was the account maintenance save button. And that's kind of an interesting feature that we added not too long ago, is you can actually put an e-sign on a save button. So no matter what change they make in the window, if they're going to save that window, you want to approve it, you can put that on there, and you can force them to approve a change of anything that happened in that window. Now you're not going to see everything they changed in here because you're not auditing it, you're just doing an e-sign on saving that window. So that's a little bit of a different way to use it, but you can use it that way as well. And that's just the record that we show that that happened. Security audits I'm not going to go into, I'll show you where you turn them on, but just to show you what a smart list looks like with security audits. I've made changes here, nothing, oh yeah. I did actually, I did change this one earlier today, I forgot about that. So I do actually have one from today that I'm going to show you a little bit more about later. So you can see that this one was, let's just drill back on it. Security audits are a little trickier to me. So the resource name was AP clerk, which is actually one of my roles. The old value is yes, the new value is no. So I took it away from this user Isaac is what that means, but you can actually track all of this as well. And as I said, security audits, e-sign approvals, and audits are the main three smart lists that you get with Auditor. And it is where you know whether or not Auditor is functioning properly. So it's definitely a place you'll look for your information for Auditor. Just a quick note on where you turn on security audits and how easy it is. You actually go into the purple R in the system settings window. Lots of other things you can do in here, but it's under this options button. So it's rather cleverly hidden. And if you don't recall that and you do purchase Auditor or you're using it and you want to turn this on, certainly just contact us at support and we can help you with that. It's literally this checkbox. If I check this, it's now going to audit all of my security changes in GP. If I uncheck it, it's not. So goes both ways. And then we have a number of notes you can add. Some even have a little warning that they're not recommended. And the reason is what I mentioned earlier. If you change tasks in a role, you can be changing a lot of information. And if you're going to require a note for every single change, it's going to get really cumbersome to make those, put those notes in for every change. So that's the reason behind that. So that is really a super high level, in a nutshell, Auditor. The next bit of software I want to talk about is our Toolbox, Dynamics GP Toolbox it's called. So this one, as you can see, the price there is $280 per full system user. This allows us to enhance a lot of different things for you. It's like a convenient package, as it says, of 27 tools. So there's a number of different things you can do. It does impact, can use its GP security. It can help you with administering users and things like that. It can actually streamline a little bit your business processes. We have just a number of tools that can do many different things. And then there's some that help the user experience, help it maybe make it easier for you to learn GP or to understand where windows are and things like that. So I'm going to show you just a couple of those tools today. We are going to look at a tool called Mentor. And I've been troubleshooting GP and work for various different partners and things through the years. And so I've been in GP in the realm for quite a long time. And I still don't always know, like I never supported payroll. I stay away from that. I'm scared of it. I like getting paid, but not supporting payroll. So I don't go in there very often, but sometimes with our products, I need to know what someone wants to set up an audit on a particular window or something. With Toolbox, we have this handy feature called Mentor, and it's actually this blue M box right here. Now, when you install Toolbox, this can be set to open automatically for users. Some like that, some don't. So it's personal choice, and you can turn that off. Otherwise, you can always find it up here. on the toolbar for GP. What you can do with this is you can search for a particular window. If you have an idea what the window is called, let's just type in vendor. I'll pick on vendors again. If I just type in vendor, I don't really know what I'm looking for, but maybe I'm going to find it in here. What I want is the vendor maintenance window. Well, this might get ugly looking for that here, but there's item vendors maintenance. Let's see, they are alphabetical, looks like. So I should be able to scroll down and find, scrolled right by it, I'm sure, vendor maintenance. Oh, hey, it gives me the path, cards, purchasing vendor. That's really handy, but it also gives me the form, the PM vendor maintenance, and then resource ID you probably use in security. If you're like completely revamping your GP security, that might be very handy. But let's just say, you know what, I don't know how to find this path. I'm just gonna double click this. Does that do anything for me? It does. It actually opens the window. So if you have an idea what window you're looking for, Mentor can be really helpful in finding it for you and even opening it. So you don't even need to know the path. So now, let me move this over a little here. One of the things help your security, enhance your security and some administration. And so let's say I'm in vendor maintenance. I found the window now and I know what I want to see in here. And this is great. This is exactly the window I needed. I need to know who's got security to this window. Or I have a user that I want to add security or take away security from this window. With vendor maintenance still highlighted over on my Mentor window, if I click security here, it's going to open up the security settings. So this gives you the right to grant or revoke access for a particular user to this window. Now, in my case, this was what I was testing earlier. I was picking on my user Isaac, so I'll pick on Jacob this time. Jacob is an accounting manager. That's his role. So these are the different roles that contain this window. And it looks like I have it under test as well, and it's in default user. That's actually the window I'm using, so that's a little different. But here I can look and see that Jacob has access to this window because he's an accounting manager. Let's say I don't want him to be an accounting manager. I can just do this. It takes away that permission. Now, if that Jacob user logged in, he would not have access to this window anymore. So you can actually do some kind of interesting things with security here. I would caution you, you want to know a little bit about security. You also need to be logged in and have the right permissions to even open these security windows. So likely SA or maybe the Dyn SA user would have the permissions here, but it's a handy way to get to exactly who's got this and what is this? What is this access for this person? Hopefully that is somewhat useful for you, and especially anybody who's a system administrator that might be on the call, or a partner. If I click that and I just changed him back, I could actually log in and show you what happened, but I think you get the idea. I'm taking away security. So it's handy for a number of different reasons. Also, you can see I'm logged in as SA, so I probably have access to everything. But if I were logged in as one of those users and I was looking for a window, it'll tell you whether or not you have access to the window because it'll have the green check mark or the red stop sign, basically. The word vendor is apparently in quite a lot of windows, and had I typed in vendor maintenance up here, or even vendor maint, I think it would find it a lot faster for me if I knew more about it. So really, if you just have an idea, you can pretty much come in here and find different things. So hopefully you find that useful. Oh, you can also add a shortcut. So let me find vendor maintenance again and click add shortcut. I already have one, so I've obviously used this example before. So I'll just add another one anyway. And then you have to log in the next time, and then they'll show up over here on your shortcuts bar. You can export the information. Not sure if that's useful to you, but you can do that. It might be in the event of setting up maybe a new report or some kind of new security. You want to know some information here. You could do that as well. So that's one of the 27 tools that we have available to us. Another tool that I wanted to show you that kind of really speaks to the user experience portion of using Toolbox within GP. We have something called Popups, and Popups can be really handy as just reminders for different things. I think I have one on my customer maintenance window, so let's go over there, and I will open that window, and I do. So I have what we call a pop-up set up, and this one is really useful for new users. You can set that up to tell them something, give them a message of some sort. So in this case, I put, remember to add customer class to every customer. So if a user is coming in and they're creating some new customers, you want that customer in a customer class. So it makes everything just easier. It defaults in information. So I created a pop-up note so that when this window opens, this pop-up also opens and a new user sees it. So it can be super handy for that. You can also do what's called My Notes, which I don't have any on this window, and then something called Tips. So you can pick and choose which kind of note this is. Tips, I believe, are more user specific. So this is for me as the SA user, whereas notes are more, you can do them user specific, but you can also do them for all users if you like. And then My Notes would definitely be just for the user who set it up. On the tips one, I said, don't forget to send out statements today. There's also a method to expire one of these tips or notes. So I put an expiration date, a start date of today and an expiration date of today on this one. So tomorrow when I log in, I won't see this tip here anymore. It'll just be this note. So some handy features you can use to basically to remind users of things, or create, if you've got one and you want to put a note on a customer, on a specific customer, and I don't know if I have any that I usually pick on Aaron Fitz. I have a note here, but we also have a way to pop up a note based on a key field, like the customer ID. I can set it for all customer IDs or just a specific one. Again, I don't have an example set up, but you can do that as well. So let's say I had this, this particular customer and we were going to be delivering something to him. You could put beware of the dog or something like that as a note for anybody entering this window. Not sure that's a useful example, but you get the idea. You can add a note to a customer. This might be more useful for someone in accounting. This person always pays early or something like that. But those are notes that you can add. And again, Toolbox has a ton of other tools. I'll just touch on one other one. We have like a security manager tool. I'm not actually going to open the window because it takes quite a while to load it, because it looks at GP security data and loads it all into that window. But it gives you a little bit more freedom and flexibility for changing security in GP. It does not doesn't override, like it's a tool that's attached to security, but it doesn't like take away interfere with the security, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's designed to just make the security changes you make a little more user friendly in GP. So it's a little easier to see it all in one screen, kind of in a matrix, rather than going into security itself in GP, the way that all looks. It's a little cumbersome and you have to print a report to see who's got what and things like that. With our tool, you can see which users have what access all on a window. And I'd love to show it to you, but like I said, it'll take us about 5 minutes to open the window just because it has to parse through all of the security that GP has set up standard. So essentially, Toolbox can do a lot as far as different features it has and ability to do different, just basically enhancing your user experience in GP, making GP a little easier and more user-friendly. Let me go back to my slide deck. I think that pretty well covers what I wanted to cover today, and you can see the list of our different products we offer. And I always forget project costs, but we do actually own that now too, and exchange rate imports. So those also sit on top of GP, so it's more than 5. Effectively, if you need to get in touch with us from a sales perspective, there's the email address and the phone number. It's just sales@rocktonsoftware.com. If you already own one of our pieces of software, any of them, and you need to reach out to support, we're available, Monday through Friday. Certainly reach out. That is support@rocktonsoftware.com. So that is pretty much what I had to present, and I really appreciate your attention. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you, Dana. Very good presentation. Rockton Software is very popular among our customers, and it's an excellent choice to optimize your GP system. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. You can either type those into the chat box or just go ahead and ask. And if you don't have any questions and you would like to see pricing or get more information about any of the products discussed today, please contact Raina or myself, and we would be happy to get you anything you need. I'll pause for a second to see if there's any questions. Okay. All right. Well, Dana, thank you so much for the presentation. Everyone, thank you for joining. We will send evaluation forms your way, so please indicate if you do need CPE credits. And we appreciate your time today. Everyone have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.